And we're going. Let's see. Eventually.
When it gets around to it.
Yeah. Hey, folks. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo, Night Show 1460. I'm your host, JohnnyHellcat, and with me are Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
Jen.
Hello.
And traveling exhibit Kyller.
Hello, everyone.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing grand. Yourself?
It's been a day.
Fair enough.
So how are things over in you guys' neck of the woods?
So far so good. Today was kind of relatively boring. Honestly, the only thing I could find to really do was either go between the Kyle Rittenhouse thing with... Honestly, Ricada's got the better stream. Not to say that I don't have preferences, because I'll watch Monkey over Ricada any day, just because Monkey at least makes some of this stuff tolerable to listen to. But yeah, today was kind of boring. Yeah. Don't know about you guys. How about you, Kyler? How was your day?
Well, I rolled out of bed, took my morning pills, and my niece called because her car died on her.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, it just needed jump started, so I headed out there to the Walmart parking lot, and boy, it was windy out there today. That was fun, but we got her going. Then I came home and streamed 7 Days to Die with Moonshock for like 5 hours, and now I'm here.
Sounds like a decent day, all in all.
Oh, yeah.
Now, yeah, mine was going with the name of the stream. I have been trying to set up some things with my work to be able to work from home. And in order to do that, I need to file what's called a accommodation request. And you can't just because it's a big corporation. Like there's no HR department that you can just go to. You have to like send off a request to to make sure it's even able to be done in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I send off the request. They tell me to contact my supervisors. I contact my supervisors, and they tell me to contact HR.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, well, that's a good start. Like, finding out who I have to talk to first. So I went back to the HR computer thing, and I'm like, okay, well, they said that I needed to contact you. How do I get this thing started? And they're like, okay, well, we're going to send you some forms. You fill them out, bring them back as to why. One's for me telling me why I'm requesting the accommodation. And the other one's for my doctor, who is supposed to pretty much confirm medically why I need the accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who know, I've been having issues with my stomach, I guess, would be the way to go. I've been having just massive, like waves of nausea just hitting to the point where I will go to throw up, but nothing comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just...
Oh, are you getting the dry heaves?
Yeah, and just...
Oh, those are the worst.
I'm just over-retching into the toilet. And of course, with the refreshing aroma that toilet water can give you, as I'm like spitting out stuff that's going into the sink, I'm just getting that back wave of toilet air, and so it's just causing me to do it more.
Yeah, when you're debating on whether or not the seat up or the seat down is better or not.
Like, seat down would be the best, but...
Yeah, because it stops it from backwashing at least a little bit.
But yeah, you need to hit the water somehow, so...
Yeah, I had that for a while, but mine had to do more with my weight loss. Like when I was losing weight, I would just wake up with my stomach
That is
feeling.
not the proper way to lose weight.
I wasn't starving
That finger
myself.
down the throat.
No, none of that. None of that. It was just I would wake up with so much acid in my stomach, because I was eating less. I wasn't under eating. There's a difference when you are obese and your calorie intake. Because I don't know what my worst was, but I wouldn't doubt that I was probably. I could imagine a worst day being like 3,000 calories. You know, so say I go onto a regular diet and instead of eating 3,000 calories, I'm eating normal calories. Like say I'm eating like 1,900 to 1,800 calories.
Mhm.
You wake up for a couple weeks feeling acidic, very acidic. I don't think that's what you got though. I was gonna ask, have you? I'm only asking because I have it in my family. But did you get checked for like cancer and stuff?
Actually, I went in.
Mm-hmm.
Was it last Monday?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Because yeah, I'd been feeling kind of off since the Thursday before. The week before, it actually is when everything started. I was starting to actually get like woozy
Mm-hmm.
when I was at work, and so I'm like, I need to go.
Yeah.
And so I was off half the day there. Went in. I didn't go in the Friday after, and then I'm like, okay, I feel better. And then the same thing happened the week after. You know, I felt sick. Only I was actually getting nauseous on Thursday, and it kind of carried over a little bit into Friday, and then Saturday. It was from then on. It was just like every 15 minutes to up to an hour and a half. I was just have this overwhelming nausea kick in, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm just over the toilet. And so I went into my I made an appointment and went in um, the Monday to I guess I would call them my secondary care physician because my primary is out for reasons.
Your
And,
substitute care physician.
and so
Mm-hmm.
I went in and they're like, oh, well, we're going to give you a COVID test because, they're saying that the Delta variant attacks the GI tract. I'm like, okay. But what happens if it's not that?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, we're typically testing everything as COVID, and that's pretty much all we're doing.
Oh
And
wow.
I go,
Yep.
okay, but what if it's not that? Like, I want to know what else
Yeah.
are we gonna do here?
My comment about cancer wasn't meant to be like scary. It was a genuine question.
Well,
Yeah.
I haven't been throwing up
Like
blood, so it's.
yeah.
I know that that's a big red flag.
Yeah, that's stomach
Do you,
cancer. If
do
you
you,
start throwing up blood, it's stomach cancer. So I'm going to go into something that's a bit gross.
okay.
Fair warning for everyone.
I've done my
But
fair share. It's all good.
it's important things to know. So if you're talking about when you throw up, if you see red blood, then that means that it's fresh. It's from upper stomach and up. So in your throat, in your upper stomach, you can get red blood. If you're getting what looks like partially digested blood, that's mid stomach down to like the upper low stomach, you'll get that partially digested. And then it's low stomach and down, you end up with what looks like coffee grounds.
Yeah.
Then
The stuff
if
that's
you're
settled
looking,
at the bottom.
because it's already just been digested, so by the time that it comes up high enough for you to actually throw it up, it looks like coffee grounds. If you're looking at it coming out the other way, then it's the inverse. So if you see fresh blood, it's from your intestines. If you see that kind of part digested, then it's from the kind of upper section of your intestine, bottom stomach, and then if you see it as coffee grounds, it's upper stomach to mid stomach is coffee grounds. So, important thing in case anyone sees that. That's what the different bloods that you can see will look like and where they're from.
So
Prostate pointed out gallbladder too as a potential thing, and then is it gallbladder and gallstones? Those are different, right? Or are they the same?
Gallstones are, you know what kidney stones are, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Kidney stones.
So kidney stones form in the kidney. Gallstones form in the gallbladder.
Okay.
So just like kidney stones form in the organ, gallstones form in the organ. Both of them need to be either able to be broken down so that they can be passed, or they need to be able to pass by some means, or be excised if there's no way of getting them to pass.
Yeah. And I'm told passing them is not pleasant.
Oh, no, because you're pissing a cow trough out of your body. Your urethra does not like jagged objects.
I hope it's none of those things.
Me.
Yeah.
But well, no. So the backup, she gives me the COVID test, takes my vitals, and she's like, "Okay, well, you know, eat the Bratz diet, and then we'll see what we can do after that." And I'm like, "That is bananas, applesauce, toast, and rice. Bananas, rice, applesauce, toast."
Yeah, all things that are easy on your stomach.
Yeah, and that has not helped. So,
well,
and it's hard to tell
question.
because she was saying, you know, if you're having like diarrhea, that's a problem as well. And I'm like, well, I drink a lot of coffee, so it's hard to tell if it's, you know, regular diarrhea or I just drank a full pot of coffee, you know, watch me roar, that type of.
Yeah. Question. When the nausea hits, is it accompanied with the spins?
No.
Okay. Well, that takes out like vertigo and all
inner ear.
Related. Yeah, that kind of thing.
It was never really kind of a dizzy type. There is kind of a weakness though, but I think that's just part of the nausea.
Yeah. Go back to the doc once you can.
Well, and actually, I went to. My wife took me to the urgent care on Wednesday because.
Okay, that's good.
2 days. Well, yeah, 2 days, and nothing's changed. You know, I have my good days. I have my bad days. Yesterday was a good one. Today, not so much. But I went in and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take some labs, and then we're gonna give you an X-ray."
Good.
And I go, "Oh." And he goes, "Why do you seem surprised?" And I'm like, "Well, my previous doctor decided that she was just going to give me a COVID test." And he goes, "That's it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we would have started with that, but we certainly would have finished with that because it could be something that's not COVID." And I'm like, "Well, that was my thought."
Yeah, what you're meant to do is it's meant to be okay, so these are the tests that will take a little bit of time to come back, so we'll get those tests started. Then we need to do a X-ray. We need to do a X-ray with contrast. We need to do CT. We need to do these different things in order to see if it's a physiological just defect in the stomach due to XYZ. We need to do these tests to see if it's a bacteriological or virological issue, and we need to do this type of test to see if it's this. And it should have been testing all of them in one go, or going for these are the 4 most common. So we'll get the 4 most common going, and then these are the 4 most severe, so we'll get the 4 most severe going.
But what they ended up with the X-rays, just standard X-rays, they didn't see anything except for like air bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, oh, well, it's kind of odd that you're having, this nausea and vomiting, and we're not seeing anything here. So I'm gonna have you follow up with doing an endoscopy with your. I'm gonna have you refer to your primary and see about getting an endoscopy scheduled for you. So I have one scheduled for the 30th.
Okay.
And that's where that's gone so far. So my thought was, if I have to wait till the 30th for this, like I can't be on the phones and talking to a customer and be like, one moment.
I need to go pray to the porcelain gods.
I might be able to handle 1 or 2 phone calls before like I have to take personal time to take care of the situation and then come back, and then it could be another 15 minutes to another hour and a half before the symptoms come back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, that I need to get this accommodation taken care of. So I've been off the entire week. I just found out today that I am out of personal time, paid time off.
Ouch.
So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll just go into work tomorrow and just kind of suffer through it. But then I'm thinking, oh, well, I have coworkers in the office who don't understand what's going on. So it's just going to be me running down the hallway just as I'm just running through the office like a nauseated Quasimodo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do have a garbage can right behind me at my cubicle. But I'm going to see. I went to fill out this thing for an accommodation. They sent me the forms. And I go, okay, well, since the guy at the where was I?
The guy at the
was
the.
What was that?
It was the guy at the was the last phrase. So.
Oh yeah, the guy at the HR thing sent me the forms.
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday, I've been kind of like in communication, getting the thing. I figured the guy at the urgent care, being that he did the X-rays and everything, he'll have the most up-to-date records with getting this information filled out.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to take the forms to him to get the forms sent off, and he's like, "Oh, I can't fill this information out." I go, why not? And he goes, "Well, I'm not your primary care physician. I'm not authorized to disclose this information."
Grand.
And so I'm like, so I have to get this information to my primary and have the primary fill out this information. He goes, yes. I go, okay, shouldn't be a problem. get a hold of my primary to see if I can have her request the medical records, which, that'll take,
Some time.
a half hour, at the most, if they get to it right away. Have her fill out the information, asking me questions because obviously she doesn't know what the hell's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and the only diagnosis that they're going to have is nausea. So it's like, so of course she's gonna ask me for context. I'm guessing. And then, so I go to contact my primary. She's gone for the week. Joy. So I messaged the secondary, the backup, the one I saw initially, who gave me just the COVID test and the boot out the door.
Mm-hmm.
She's out till Monday.
Grand.
Of course.
I go, isn't there, because it doesn't say on the form that I need my primary. I just need a doctor to fill this out. I go, is there anyone who can just fill this information out, request the information that they need, and ask me questions for context? And they're like, no, she'll be back on Monday. And I'm like, so I'm missing 2 more days of time. I'm like, well, at least I can get back to, torturing myself from work. And so I go to I filled out my half of the form, my form of the part that's supposed to get filled out. I go to sign in to the computer to get my to get to my HR stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm like, authentication failed. Nice. Okay. So I try to type in the thing. Authentication failed. And then I go, there's a problem. Call the help desk. Okay. Small hurdle. That's fine. Call the help desk. Yeah, no bile. I don't actually really throw up anything. Mostly mucus.
Mm-hmm.
It's the stuff that clears out of the sinuses. But so I call the help desk and they're like, oh, well, let's see what we can do for you. Da 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 da. We'll try a password reset. Okay. So they send me to a website to do the password reset. I get my security questions, which I know what they are because they're the easiest questions I could answer. Not like what city did your grandfather retire in? The first time. And it's if you were a superhero, who would you be? What's your friend's name? What's your pet's name? I'm like,
So you guys now know the questions you need to ask Johnny at different times so he doesn't ever cop wise to it in order to steal his identity.
Well, the funny part is, I answered these, and they're all wrong. And I'm like, okay, I know these questions because they're the easiest ones to answer. And I go, I call the guy and he's like, okay, well, I'll set a temporary password for you. That way, you can just get signed in and do that. Mm-hmm. Well, I tried to sign in with this temporary password. Authentication failure. That was Tuesday. He's like, okay, we'll send this up and we'll get it escalated for you so that you can get back into the thing. So I'm like, okay, I need to get this done fast. I need to get back to work. How soon we can get it? Oh, it should be within 24 hours. Cool. It's been 2 days. I have called them back twice, requesting the same stuff, and they have either sent me. They've either sent the case to a different department, quote unquote, or, well, I don't know what we can do for you here. We'll have to submit this case to a different department. other than the IT department that it's supposed to be helping me. So I can't go to work. I can't force myself to suffer through working because I am now fully locked out of my computer.
Beautiful.
Because somehow my password changed, but not to what I changed it to, and not to what the guy changed it to. So there is a third password that I have no idea what it is. And no one's able to just be like, oh, well, I just reset this for you, even though the first guy did. But now I'm just like, okay, I need the password reset. I need to get things going so that I can get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll get this escalated for you, and we'll have someone contact you shortly.
So I'm going to ask...
That was 7 hours ago.
Have any of you ever seen the 12 Tasks of Asterix?
No.
It's...
I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it.
Hey, Tal.
So there's the old school comics, Asterix and Obelix. One of them was the 12 Tasks of Asterix, which was then made into an animated film. And what you just described really reminds me of one of the parts of the 12 Tasks of Asterix, because all of them are meant to be impossible challenges, just like the 12 Tasks of Hercules. And one of them was to get this specific form filled out in this one city that is entirely inhabited by bureaucrats.
Oh, Lord.
So you go into the building, and as they're walking to the building, people are coming out, and they're completely goddamn insane. They're barking like dogs, clucking like chickens, running around, chasing each other like cats and dogs, all that kind of weird shit. One of them, I think, is just eating grass in a field like he's a goat. So it signals that everyone that tries this goes absolutely fucking insane. And then it goes through, and he finds the form, what looks to be the form that he's supposed to get filled out. So he fills out that form, and he takes it to the window that says that it's the window that's supposed to receive that. And they go, oh, sorry, you filled out the blue form. You need to fill out the green form and take that to window. And they say a specific window number on this floor in this section of the building. So he goes there and he does that. And, oh, sorry, nope, this is the wrong form. You need the pink form from this section and this section. And it's just a constant wrong form. You need to go here. You need to do this. You need to do this in order to get this form, to get that form, to get this form, to get that form, to get this form, to get that form, to get this form, to get the original form sent to this location so you can get this stamp and that stamp and this stamp and that stamp so that you can get this thing filled out, so that you can request a copy of the original form to get these 12 stamps on the original copy, so that then you can submit it to this window and get this form in response to that, so you can submit it to these 4 floors. Just that sort of insanity. And what you were describing just had that scene playing in my head.
Yeah, and what's really funny is with the form that I reviewed that the doctor's supposed to fill out, like, I literally could fill it out, just walk to a doctor and be like, sign this. And then just turn it in. Because it's all questions that even someone like me can answer. And damn it, I'm not a doctor, but
so just so that everyone can see what I'm talking about, I found the clip, and we can't show it live on air because it's still under copyright, I'm willing to bet. But what I can do is I can toss it into chat so that anyone that gets the urge can see the scene that I'm talking about, which is finding permit A38 in the place that sends you mad. And it is absolutely brilliant. It's one of the things that I miss Asterix and Obelix for. It's a cartoon series that if people could revive the cartoons and not make them shit, I would desperately want them to do so.
I don't want to see this gay. Please don't ever make this show gay.
Yeah, don't screw up Asterix and Obelix, because Asterix and Obelix is goddamn amazing.
It's like it's okay for two guys to be friends. They don't need to be gay just because they're friends. Doesn't mean they're gay.
Yeah.
You
Why
just-
project your own desperate longing for a human touch on a fictional character?
Yeah, and it would be one of those that they would take even the ridiculously silly what the fuck jokes told throughout Asterix and Obelix. Like, for those who don't know Asterix and Obelix, every person in Gaul, their name ends in Ix. So there's Asterix, Obelix, of course. Obelix's dog is naturally Dogmatix. Then there's the druid that's able to brew this amazing potion that is able to increase your strength and increase your vigor and has all these amazing benefits that all the Gauls really want to drink, and they enjoy the taste of it. And Obelix fell into a vat of it, which is why he's so big and strong when he was young. And ever since, he's been wanting more of it. So naturally, this man's name is Getafix. The leader of their small town in Gaul is naturally Vital Statistics. And it's just all of them are ending in X. All of them are jokes throughout the entire thing. And they would even fuck up that somehow if they tried to remake it.
Yeah. Come
It's
up with an original idea, please.
Or at least if you're
That's
going to
asking
do
too much.
something, if you're going to look at something that's already been done, at least do it well rather than going, well, this is a really nice story. We need to fuck it up so that it's entirely unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Or like what they do with DC and Marvel. Like, on all honesty, the guy who legit invented Superman has been rolling over in his grave for the last like 5 years.
Oh,
Yep.
actually, it was two guys.
Two guys, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're powering East Side.
They're
Manhattan.
probably taking turns on rolling, you know?
Yeah. Oddly enough, of the Jewish faith.
Mm-hmm.
It's so depressing for their community in the first place. Like, I'm going to point out what everybody else has been pointing out for the longest time. What Marvel and DC is doing is not really showing you representation. What Japan did was they showed you representation because they actually invented characters who were gay. They didn't change characters to make them gay. They
Yeah.
invented them in the first place. And they did it in such a way where they added to the world. They were a character that was a part of the world who just happened to be gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a stock character in a lot of animes and mangas.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much in the newer ones these days, but your trans-ish, cross-dresser-ish character.
The Okamas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still have Okama bars.
Yeah, it's a stock character in their media and apparently in their society. So
I
why
remember
not?
playing it was a Suikoden 5, where they're trying to like parts of the territory have been taken over, and so they're trying, like, the main characters group is trying to take some of it back to get through like some balance.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the scenes, like, it has this, very attractive, woman who like seduces these guards, and then beats the shit out of them, like that whole scene. And then the other guys come up, and he's just like, "Man, like, is there anything you can't do?" And he goes, and the guy goes, "Hey, it's not my fault I was born beautiful." And then you find out it's one of the guy characters, like, who prettied himself up. And yeah, it's just, I mean, he didn't do it because it just happened to be that he was a cute dude.
I mean, and
that's kind of like in the Yakuza series, which I've talked about on air because they're amazing games. There's a bar that you can hit in, I think, damn near every Yakuza, at least every Yakuza that takes place in Kamurocho. And it's called Earth Angel. It's an Okama bar. They refer to all of the bar owners that are females as mamas, and the Okama that runs Earth Angel is referred to as a mama without any pause by anyone. And that Okama is an actual goddamn character that you learn about each time that you interact with them in a different game, because there's damn near always a mission that takes place with the mama from Earth Angel. So you find out weird things about their past. Like at one point you find out they were part of a biker gang. And you're just going, the fuck? Okay. They're a former biker gang member that ran away from the biker gang to become an Okama and then a mama and an Okama bar. Okay.
Yeah, that's a character representation that is done right. They grow as a character. Their whole character isn't the thing that they are, be it gay or trans or whatever.
And it's not just that. They have, in fact, created animes that were romances that were geared towards the gay community. Yuri on Ice is a perfect example of that. It was actually well done. A lot of people who were straight watched it and were like, yeah, that was actually a pretty good story.
Yeah.
And they weren't gross about it.
Yeah.
It's like something that I've talked about on stream before, where there's a difference between having a character that happens to be gay, or happens to be black, or happens to be a woman, or happens to be insert identity group here, and having the gay character, having the female character. There's a fantasy series that I really goddamn enjoyed. It's by Trudy Caravan, something like that is her name, and it's the Dark Magician series. It starts as the Dark Magician trilogy, and then it has a follow-on trilogy. And one of the main characters in both trilogies is an ambassador and a wizard. And they go into his history, his family, and all that. And yeah, that character's gay. And the only times when that really comes up is when he's talking to his lover, or when it's talking about his past at the Wizard University, effectively, when he's the heir of a very important family. So in order to smear him, he was called gay, and it turned out that yes, he was, but it was this massive scandal because the person who's meant to inherit this very important family's position and was being trained as a wizard so he would be even more highly placed, turns out that he's gay, so he isn't going to even produce any offspring. What the fuck? So he would try to hide it. And that was brought into the story. It was actually important to the plot, how it played out, rather than just the gay character that you get in a lot of media currently, where it's, I'm gay. Did you know I'm gay? Did you find out that I'm gay? Man, I really love kissing other guys. I would suck a cock if a cock was in front of me right now. Did I tell you I'm gay?
That's exactly an example I was going to make of that was the downfall of Xena.
Mm-hmm.
Because they always make it out that the reason people hated it was because they made them lesbians. And it's like, no, I didn't hate that you made them lesbians. I hated how you implemented them as lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
You turned a story that had been about ancient Greece or ancient Rome or whichever one you want to pick based off the gods, because they seem to change a lot in that storyline. But the point is that they made it all about them being lesbians. Like, this wasn't two characters who had fallen in love and had little special moments. It was all about them being lesbian. There was no storyline anymore. It was just, and there was no banging to make up for that. I'm like, I'm sorry, if you're gonna make it all about them being lesbians, then put sex in there, because otherwise no one gives a shit.
Oh, yeah, Sanguine, your fantasy series you were talking about reminds me of one that I particularly enjoyed. It was Mercedes Lackey, Heralds of Valdemar series.
Yeah, they were good. That was my first encounter with gay people.
One of the main characters is gay, and it goes through all of the trials and tribulations he faced as a person growing up and then into his career and through his lifetime. It's really well done.
And it's been around since the 80s.
Yeah.
They act like this is new. That's the other thing that I get tired of, too. It's not just that you have stories about gay people. It's always the same revolving story. You know, it's always, oh, well, you know, I was dating a man, but, you know, the world hated me because we were gay. There have actually been series about gay people, about the gay community.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't just focus on that. They actually focused about the gay community and like what relationships were like in the gay community and things that were concerning to the gay community. It was actually a really good drama. I wish I remembered the name of it. But it revolved around 4 different guys from different perspectives. And they talked about different things like AIDS in the gay community, about predators in the gay community, you know, how they do fish them out. You know, they don't necessarily want predators in there. You know, and all
that's difficult. You have to hide yourself by covering yourself in mud and making a bunch of elaborate traps in the middle of a jungle.
You'd be surprised. Like that story actually really covered it up. Like not covered it, but like covered a lot of that stuff. Like, you know, how a lot of young men, when they're coming out as gay or when they're trying to figure out whether or not they're gay, yeah, they absolutely do exactly what the straight guys do. You know, it's not too different. It's just in the gay community. Well, I'm sorry, 2 men are more inclined to consent with each other quicker than a man and a woman. So
it's kind of like one of those things that there's a bunch of different aspects that aren't really talked about, at least in polite company. Like, do you guys know what type of relationship is the least likely to have domestic violence in it? The least likely. Is it a heterosexual man and woman? Is it a homosexual man and man? Or is it a homosexual woman and woman? Which one is the least likely to be violent?
I would guess the man and man.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's the most likely to be violent?
Lesbians.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas we're constantly told by various academics and whatnot that when you're talking domestic violence, that's a issue of men being inherently violent.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it was men being inherently violent, then the most violent relationship would be 2 dudes bashing on each other. But you don't get that. You get them being the least violent, followed by heterosexual, which, when you actually look at the breakdown of the rates of domestic violence within heterosexual couples, it's about 50-50 between men and women.
Yeah, I've been on the periphery of both types, and it's not fun to watch.
It's not fun to watch, and it's the one caveat that you get is that the domestic violence tends to take slightly different forms between the two. But then when you're talking the most absolutely savage, violent domestic dust-ups, it tends to be lesbians, just absolutely kicking the shit out of each other. It's kind. Oh, God.
Oh no, I was just interjecting a little. I also wouldn't be surprised if gay men are better with children than lesbians. Not to throw shade at lesbians, but women get jealous over really dumb shit, and children is actually one of those ones that they absolutely do get jealous over. So men, it's not that you guys don't get jealous. It's just you do have a little bit more of a grasp over that when it comes to kids.
That was a ridiculously accurate caveat for something that you did not know I was just going to bring up, which is talking about statistics that people don't really talk about and don't really know. What parent, or what is the relationship, so parent, step-parent, that is the most likely to commit a violent act against a child, and what is the order of them? So the 4 options that you have are the father and mother, obviously. So father, mother, that's 2 of them. The stepfather and stepmother. Which one of those 4 is the most likely to abuse a child?
Stepmother.
No.
Really?
It's so due to the rate of sexual violence when it comes to this, it's stepfather tends to be one of the highest.
Okay.
Because you get a lot of the stepfather is a kitty diddler.
Yeah. If you're one of those women who cares more about dick than your children, yeah.
Which is why the second most is the biological mother. The biological mother is the second most likely person to commit violent acts against a child. Then it's the stepmother, and the least likely is actually the father. Which goes entirely counter to what most people think is going to be the case. Because a lot of people outside of our sphere of the internet would probably go, the father's going to be the most abusive. It's either going to be the father or the stepfather, clearly. Because they assume that, the father and stepfather are men, and men are the inherently violent ones, so those would be the most likely to commit violence. And Cynic saying that it is biomother, stepfather, stepmother, biofather. So yeah, from what I've seen, it seems to go back and forth between biomother and stepfather. And those 2 just constantly swap places from year to year when they do these stats. The stepmother and biofather tend to be fairly static, and it's counter to what everyone else seems to think. Because we're just constantly pushed this idea that domestic violence is men versus women and men versus children.
Now, I am going to point out a difference for certain situations. So, for certain family dynamics, like with my mom's side of the family, because of my grandfather's situation, he delegated the punishment to my grandmother to do, just because he had PTSD from being a war vet. And I don't doubt that that's similar for other families. Like, I don't doubt that there's certain times where, mom might have been designated as disciplinary, just because if dad does that kind of work, dad doesn't want to do that to his kids, flat out. That's quite common with a lot of men. Like, if you do stuff like that for a job, the last thing you want to see yourself doing is that to your kid. It's just, and I understand that too. Like, my grandmother didn't like it. She actually really hated it, but she did it because she did it out of respect for my grandfather. But it was meant to be rare. That's called discipline. There's a difference. Did she hit? Yeah, I think she used the spoon on the bum a couple times, but I think the time she did it was like she caught my mom smoking.
Yeah, there's a difference between So this is one thing that drives me crazy. The number of people that say, oh, if a parent is ever like spanks a child or anything like that, that's abuse. No, that's not abuse.
Oh,
There's
discipline within boundaries. Of
Yeah.
course.
yes, there's a difference between a swat in the ass going, don't do that again, and
A grounded
getting
pound.
out the telephone book.
Yeah.
There's a massive difference between those two.
And
Not
as an adult, I can grudgingly admit that almost every whooping I got as a boy, I had it coming.
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of like how there's a difference between a legit domestic violence case and the old school when someone's hysterical and completely inconsolable, just and then they kind of snap to.
Yeah. There's a reason it's a trope in the movies. It works.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It doesn't always work, and if it doesn't work the first time, you don't just keep on slapping.
Yeah, like that scene in Airplane.
But
they were also talking about something that's technically true. Like, it wasn't meant to be slander. It's like when they have the female in the movie faint. That's a legit thing. Women
it
and
was
children.
even more so
Yeah.
previously.
Yes, like women and children have a psychological defense that causes them to pass out when they see violence. Like it. I watched this thing where they explain why they think that was. I don't know if it's true or not. They don't know, but it's meant to be a defense for. Because if you look like you're dead, people are less likely to kill you.
Also, the main reason why women got stereotyped as fainting is corsetry was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
was just going to point that out.
when you're bound in a corset and you suddenly start hyperventilating because stress, now you're getting even less air in a situation where you aren't getting enough air to begin with, or you aren't getting much air to begin with, which causes your body to go, oh shit, passing out, and you zonk out, your breathing returns to normal, and then you wake up after a few moments.
Like,
it's one of those things that happens.
It's just when they portray it nowadays, they act like this is all stuff that was meant to be slander, and it's like, no, hysterical girls is a thing. I mean, I've been there. Other women who are lying about it have been there.
And there's a difference. So there were people that used hysteria as a catch-all term for, well, my wife isn't sucking my dick when I want her to suck my dick. And would try to get their wife put in bedlam because of that.
So you're saying there's two types of women, hysterical and liars.
Yes. But lots of liars, though. And that is a gross human trait. It is a gross human trait. I've been watching too much of this guy describing narcissism to me, and I appreciate him for it, but man, I really shouldn't have gone down that route.
The thing is that when you're talking about hysteria, it is not by any stretch of the imagination limited to women, nor is it something that all women end up experiencing. You have some women that something goes down and they snap to and they're good to go. Like, my mom is one of those. My mom is a absolutely ridiculous badass with her history. And there are guys that are able to snap to. The number of guys, or the percent of guys that are able to snap to, might be higher than the percent of women. Then you have there's a fair chunk of women that something happens and you guys know the fight or flight idea? There's a third option that really needs to be added that people keep on forgetting. Yes, it's fight, flight, or freeze. So you have the badasses that immediately have something to do. They tend to be in the fight category. You can also get the person who knows to get the fuck out of there in the flight category and can start getting people to move with them. But then you have the freeze category, which tends to be the more hysteric element of it, where they'll just suddenly lock up and they don't know what to do, they don't react, and they're just stuck there, which is a form of hysteric attack. That can be either with them screaming and crying and gnashing their teeth, full-blown hysteria, or it can be without them doing so.
It depends on the situation for me. I know typically I have a flight response.
Mm-hmm.
And with most people, like the first time I ever experienced a death, I had this kind of response. Now this is going to be kind of weird. So, I had a flight response, and since I was backed into a corner, it turned into a fight response.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what had happened? One of the clients at my other job, she was on the verge of passing away, and it was kind of my I'd been there for like 19 years, and I'd never had anyone die around me, and so I'm kind of like, and I was just on shift. And I'm like, well, who are they going to send up to be with the client? Well, and they told me who they were going to send up, and I'm like, no, because if she passes when this lady's up there, she's going to milk it for everything it's worth. And there are people who ruin death, and this is one of those people.
Yep.
Like, my God, it's not about you. Like
one of those.
Yeah, and I've met a couple in my career there, and
you don't understand. Yes, they were your loved one, but I just met them and then they died.
Yeah. Well, there's one gal. She was a lady named Doris, one of my favorite people. She was 77 when she passed.
Mm-hmm.
And this lady, she didn't talk. She pretty much squeaked whenever she tried to talk, and she'd always make fun of me because it was my second group home that I ended up working at. But I was still kind of uncomfortable cleaning women.
Mm-hmm.
That the other ladies, really made fun of me for it. And I'm like, well, there's only so much I can do, but like, if there's anything too intrusive, I'm not comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
And she had soiled herself to the point where like crevices needed to be cleaned out.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I can't do this. And so I called for help from one of the other ladies there. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. And she goes, oh, what, you're afraid of this? And then the gal just looks at me and just starts laughing, and then points at me and starts laughing. I'm like, oh, no, I see how it is. Like, you're gonna shame me into this? Like, she had a really good sense of humor, and it was great. And she had passed, and she's just like, oh, I've been working with her for forever. I'm like, bitch, it's been a week and a half. Like, you were there a week and a half.
See, this is reminding me of what I think I've told this story on stream before. So, have you guys heard me tell the story of pussy shits? That's really the best way to designate what the story is. Pussy shits.
I'm just going to say no.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
must have missed that one.
I was an EMT for a while. And one of the times that I was called out for transport, my partner and I go. It's my partner's turn to take the call. Thank fucking God for that. So we get there, and there's this very loud, very shameless old black woman who, she has a nurse that's going to be riding along with us. The nurse is obviously at the point of, I'm fucking done. We're just going to transport. I'm going to be sitting as far away from this woman as I possibly can be. Fuck this. And as my partner's getting together the paperwork and getting the signatures that we need to get in order to initiate transport, we go over, start to get her transferred over. And as we're about to do the draw sheet lift, are you guys familiar with what a draw sheet lift is?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. So we're about to do a draw sheet lift, and this woman just immediately perks up and just, oh, I'm shitting. And the nurses just kind of look at each other, and I'm trying not to laugh. As one of the nurses has this, what? Expression on their face. And then the woman follows it up with a sentence that I cannot for the life of me forget. And I never want to understand what she means by it. And that is, and I'm not talking a normal shit. I'm pussy shitting. Again, I am biting the inside of my mouth to prevent laughing as we get her draw sheeted over. And then once we get her draw sheeted over, she locks onto my partner's eyes and starts going, my back itches, scratch it. Ma'am, we have to get you out into the ambulance. Just hold on, it won't be long. Come on, scratch my back. Ma'am, I'm not going to scratch your back right now. We have to get you out to the ambulance. Come on, scratch it. And she's just continuing, scratch my back. Come on, scratch my back. As we're wheeling her out to the ambulance. And as there's an elevator that we have to take in order to get to the floor that we are then able to go out to the ambulance on. And we wheel her out into the hall, we wheel her into the elevator, and right as the elevator doors are about to close, she again, in this loud as fuck voice, says, my kitty itches! Scratch it!
Good God.
My partner goes, what? My pussy itches! Scratch it! Ma'am, I'm not going to scratch it. Come on, scratch my kitty! Ma'am, I'm not going to scratch it. Scratch my back then! No, I'm not going to scratch your back. Scratch it! And
Lady, I'm not touching you.
the entire time that we're wheeling this woman out, she's just in loud voices yelling at my partner to scratch various body parts. And my partner is just trying to, ma'am, we're in a building. Come on, we're taking you to the ambulance. Just calm. No, I'm not going to scratch it right now. We're in a hole. There are people. No, just stop. The ride-along nurse is just kind of still walking like 10 feet in front of us, occasionally turning around, looking at me and going, which way to the ambulance? And I'm having to point her that direction so that she can just stay as far away from this patient as she possibly can. Because she's fucking done. We get out to the ambulance, we load the patient into the ambulance, and normally a ride-along nurse will climb into the back of the ambulance and ride along in back of the ambulance with the patient. So, as we get the patient into the back, my partner is about to climb into the back of the ambulance, and I close up the back doors because we always let the family members or nurse, whoever, climb in on the side rather than climbing in through the back. And as I close the doors, I hear another door close. And I look, and the nurse is nowhere around me. So I go, okay. I go up to the ambulance, go to hop in my door. The nurse is sitting up front of the rig, just sitting in the passenger seat with this look of, I'm not going in back.
I can't go back there. I can't go back.
To be honest, I would have just had a hard time not laughing.
Like I said, I am biting the inside of my mouth, trying not to laugh as this is going on. But I just kind of shrug at her, hop in front, radio that we're about to start the transport. As I'm radioing that we're about to start the transport, I still just hear the woman in the back of the ambulance, scratch my back! Ma'am, no. Scratch my legs! No. Scratch my kitty! No. Scratch my tit! And I am still just trying to stone face it. Come on, don't let it crack. Don't let them know you're about to burst out laughing. So we start transport. I'm driving, get to the facility that we're transferring care to. The nurse hops out immediately, runs inside the building, and clocks out. So she's walking out just having clocked out by the time that we get the patient out of the ambulance. And she's fucking gone. She's heading to the car, not looking back. We go in with the patient, take the patient up to the room, get them shifted into their bed, go out. My partner gets the signatures that we need in order to transfer care. And right after doing all the pleasantries, getting the transfer care signed over, my partner just leans over the nurse's station and goes, by the way, her kitty itches. And the staff looks at her like, what the fuck? And one of them goes, what? And my partner just leans even more over the nurse's station desk and goes, her pussy issues! And just books it out of the facility.
There's this part of me that almost wishes that one of you had gone to the zoo to get one of those back scratchers that they all sell. The ones that look like dinosaurs and shit, and then just give her one of those so she always has something to scratch herself with.
It is to date one of the single most what the fuck transports that I ever had as an EMT. What the fuck in a funny way. I had what the fuck in bad ways. But that was just, what the hell? This is a comedy routine that I ended up stumbling upon.
But yeah, going back to the previous the client who was passing, her breathing was going from in and out every 30 seconds to in and out every like minute and 45 seconds. So she was very close, and finally we noticed that she wasn't breathing. So we contacted the nurse on duty. We're like, okay, we think it's happened. Can you check her out so that we can, get things in order? And she comes in and she goes, she takes out the stethoscope and places it on her chest, and she goes, well, it's a very faint heartbeat, but yeah, I think we can pretty much surmise that this is going to be her last moment. And just like that, the client just jumped back like the nurse jumps into it's me, the nurse, and the manager of the group home that the client is from. And the nurse literally jumps into the manager's arms like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Just that.
She's a zombie! Shoot her in the head!
And I jumped back, because I was going to get the fuck out of there. I was like, fuck, zombie apocalypse is starting. And I jumped back, and I hit the window. And, I can't go anywhere. So my instinct is to, it went from flight to fight. And so I cocked up like I was just
a woman in the face.
And I'm just like I got all amped up for it, and I'm just like, oh wait, no, this isn't one of those things. Like I don't need to be doing that. And
Nice.
So she's like, okay, well, we'll give her some time, and then we'll come back later. And she goes out to all the other nurses. You can just hear the nurses just start laughing. And I'm just like, I would really hate to have her final moments being just get haymakered right square in the jaw. And then I have to write up the IR.
Be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought she was a zombie.
I thought she was dead.
The stage 4 cancer patient died of blunt trauma?
Repeated blunt force trauma to the face? What the hell?
I'm sure she would have understood that in different positions if you'd popped up out of the dead like that.
But no, it was absolutely hilarious because we were laughing about that for at least an hour and a half, and then she finally passed after that. But the way I describe it is because she was such a pain. She's very stubborn, and she died. I wouldn't say died, but she had those moments. She had 3 of those moments before she finally passed.
So what you're saying is after she scared the shit out of you, she died with her last thought being, pussy.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. She's like, I got all you motherfuckers. But it was just absolutely hilarious because I can imagine if you want to look at the death end of it, I go, imagine you're the Grim Reaper, you've come to collect this soul, it pops up, and you're like, all right, let's go, and it goes away. Hey, where the fuck did it go? Where'd it go?
I have to ask you a side question. Have you ever watched a guy by the name of Gray Still Plays? Because if you've ever watched his Sims plays, that's basically how the Grim Reaper probably feels.
No, I haven't seen that.
He's one of those guys who makes it a point to deliberately kill his Sims 100 people at a time. And yeah, the Grim Reaper always appears, and he's always kind of like, do you know how many people have been on my list because of you?
But no, so she's like, okay, I'm here. We're gonna be. Oh wait, hold on a second. I'll be right back. And then she'll come back, and then she'll kind of fade out, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. Oh wait, no, hold on a second. I'll be right back. And then she'll come back.
Seniors who would do that on purpose? Because I don't doubt that there's absolutely seniors who do that on purpose.
Well, she was developmentally disabled, so I'm not sure it was on purpose. Unless, you never know. So she could have been that stubborn to been like, no, I'm not going to do this the way you want to do it. I'm going to go out the way I want to do it. I'm going to scare everyone in this room real quick. Mm-hmm. I'll be right back.
I want to make sure I'm not the only person going with freshly soiled pants.
I mean, who here hasn't deliberately threatened to come back into the afterlife just so that you could take the piss out of people? Because I know I sure did. If it worked like that, I would come back just deliberately to take the piss out of people.
If I could, in that exact same moment, if I were this client, just be like, 1 second, just give me 1 second, and then come back and just be like, and then just go, just come back raising all sorts of hell, and then just pit her out. Like that's
Yeah,
just
no.
done.
If you're going to do that, you have to go the whole 9 yards. Come back. Don't go towards the light. It's a trap.
Gee. And I would just grab the nearest person and say, brains. And then
Yeah, you have to come back and say something that just has that person thinking the rest of their life. What the fuck was that?
Or go with Terry's just a random riddle. Just be like, it's where the X marks the spot. Like
yeah, where all your treasures are hidden. I'm channeling Monkey right now a little bit, but I feel like I would secretly come back and start shit, be like, your mother was a whore.
I was worried what type of monkey you were channeling. For a second there, I thought once he said shit, once he said I would come back and shit, I thought that you were going to say just bringing it at people.
I mean, I could do that too. Like, you know what? I felt like reenacting that one scene from South Park when Chef died like twice. Here we go.
I think he's still alive. Nope, never mind.
No, I was meeting Ranting Monkey, and I was just like, if I came back for a few seconds and, from his perspective, it's going to be a hot female nurse. From my perspective, it'll be a hot male nurse. But yeah, I'd come back and be like, like start shit. Like, was your mom hot? I slept with her. That's what Ranting Monkey would say,
How tall are you?
No, because he wouldn't say, was your mom hot? I slept with her.
I slept with your mom?
Yeah, if he slept with the mother, he doesn't need to ask if the mother's hot. He knows whether they were hot or whether they were ugly as sin, and he did it anyways.
Or just leave a series of cryptic notes and ciphers behind when you go.
Oh, the full Beals method.
Yeah. Yeah, start a massive mystery that stays unsolved for like a couple centuries.
Oh, it's still unsolved to this day. They've only solved one of the 3 Beals ciphers.
Yeah, they're most likely substitution ciphers from like important documents or books of the day. We have no way to reproduce all of the possible books and documents it could be.
Yeah, the one that was decoded was using a particular print of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, and it's possible the others were done using particular prints of some other document that no longer exist.
Yep.
But yeah, do something like that. That always seemed like a good way to just mess with people for the hell of it.
I was going to say the Nationalist Papers, but I forgot it's the Federalist Papers. Nationalist Papers would probably be something a little bit different.
Yeah. And probably in German.
A certain failed art student may have written it.
Possibly.
You have to wonder if the guy who declined his art school application survived the war. Was he going, I fucked up? Did he just become ridiculously depressed?
He was patient zero.
Commit suicide at the end of a bottle?
Actually,
are we talking about Hitler? Because that was Hitler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Because sometimes I'm like, what? Did I fade out for a second?
Yeah, no, that person was probably dead by the time the war was over because this happened early in the man's life. And the man was, going on 60 when he took his own life? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a person in that position of authority might not live 4 decades afterwards.
No, I think he was the first person that Hitler murdered, and then he just hid it on behind the bodies of 6 million Jews.
A lot of people died back then. It wasn't just the Jewish community.
Nope.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if you know.
Homosexuals, actually some Catholics.
Anyone who wasn't the blonde-haired, blue-eyed
Romani
Aryan baby.
Yeah.
twins.
I mean, if you got caught showing sympathy or doing stuff, you got shit on too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a fuck ton of people that were sent to the camps, and that's one of the other things that really drives me crazy about Holocaust deniers, because they aren't only denying the really fucked up shit that happened to the Jews, but they're denying the really fucked up things that happened to everyone else that was also part of the Holocaust.
Yeah. Somebody who spoke up too much. Somebody who was
like, this is immoral. This is really gross. We shouldn't do this.
was gay in a time and a place where it was really bad to be so. Also developmentally disabled people.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of them.
Yeah, if you weren't right, they didn't need you.
Yeah. And their definition of right was rather broad, actually. Or ain't right, I meant.
Yeah.
It's the other side that their definition of right's rather broad, because it's everyone to the right of Mao Zedong is right.
Yeah, that pedophile piece of garbage.
I think they have to see that they've pushed too many people to the other side. Like, their side is dwindling so much because of it.
One would think, but then you actually listen to what they say, and their response is, fuck them, who needs them? So,
yeah,
they don't really realize it.
Yeah, I was talking to a fella a few years ago, lifelong Democrat. But I believe it was the Democratic side of the House and Senate refusing to stand for Veterans Day or something like that. He said, I'll be damned to hell if I'm going to vote Democrat again. It's like they pushed a lot of people who are at their base good people too far.
Yeah.
Well, it's another one is, and not to bring it up again, but the judge for the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Like, as far as I'm aware, he's a Democrat. Like, that's why he was picked for that case, was because he was a Democrat. and he's about the Constitution.
And the things that he's done, we keep on slandering him for, are things that I'm going, if this was for any other case, you'd be praising this. Like, they keep on saying, he's not allowing the victims to be called victims. Well, first off, that's because it's a core element of the case, whether or not they're victims.
Yeah.
Because you can't be a victim if you're the aggressor.
Yeah.
If you're the original aggressor, and you were the aggressor right up until the point where you got dead, can't be a victim. That's not how that shit works. So, since the plea's self-defense, this judge, in all of his self-defense plea cases, has had the policy of, so long as it's a self-defense defense, I will not allow someone to be called a victim. If the defense is that it wasn't me, yeah, he'll allow the person to be called a victim, because it isn't in question whether or not a crime was committed. It's in question who committed the crime. But if someone's saying, yeah, I didn't commit a crime, I just performed self-defense, then his policy is, yeah, you don't get to call the people that died or were injured in that case victims until closing statements, and you can only do that if you believe you have demonstrated beyond the shadow of a doubt that you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
That you have proven that this person did not act in self-defense. And if you believe that, then yes, in closing statements, you can say that these people were victims. But at any other point, no, you may not, because that's what's up for debate.
Well, from what I've seen of the video evidence that's publicly available, that boy absolutely acted in self-defense.
Yep.
And just
from the evidence that has come out since, it has gone ever more in the, oh yeah, that was fucking self-defense, not less. Because, shit, the info that we had where it was, trying to remember which of the witnesses brought it up, that the last statement, or the last thing that Rosenbaum said was "fuck you" as he attacked the guy. That the forensic evidence, one of the things that was used by Bicep guy, saying that he was afraid for his life, was he claimed that Kyle had tried to shoot him, had a malfunction, and then cleared the malfunction, and that was when he went to put his gun to Kyle's head. And the forensic audit of the videos and the forensic audit of the firearm, the testimony from those specialists came back with yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah. And again, from what I've seen, that young man showed some impressive discipline.
Yep.
And the other thing that's really raging me, like, I really want to demonstrate to people with a watermelon and a skateboard what I can do with that skateboard.
It's a shame that Arlie Ermy isn't still alive to do that.
You know,
yes.
Because I'm not particularly strong. I'm like maybe 140 pounds. I don't lift that many weights. Like, I do exercise and shit, but I don't do that many weights. So if I can take a skateboard and break a watermelon, which I can tell you I can, I know I can, without even trying, a young man or a guy in his 30s taking a swing at a kid with that, yeah, he could have killed him with it.
Yeah, and
I can confirm that skateboards hurt like hell when they hit you.
Yeah.
Like, you can break cement with it. You can, like, I've seen kids absolutely break chips into curbs.
Well,
yeah, and
a friend of mine beefed it, and his board went flying, and I caught it. And I caught it in not a good way. That hurt like hell.
Yeah. So yeah, this idea that wasn't a weapon, it's really unrealistic and unfair of them. Like, I get that it's a skateboard. Oh, it's something that kids play with as a toy. A lot of toys can be used to hurt you.
Yeah, I grew up with that kind of toy. Old Tonka truck ripped my finger open.
Yeah, it's one of those things that drives me crazy every time that I hear someone say, well, they were unarmed. When they weren't unarmed. And even if they were, every time that I hear someone say that, it's someone who's a hell of a lot smaller than I am. And I really just want to ask, do you honestly think that if I wanted to harm you, that if I wanted to kill you, if I wanted to cripple you for life, I would need a weapon to do so?
Yeah.
Because if the answer's no, you don't believe that, then you are admitting that someone can kill and cripple unarmed. And I doubt that very many people would look at me and go, yeah, you couldn't cripple me. I could probably pull someone's arm off their body if I really wanted to.
Well, I'm not quite as large as you, Sanguine, but yeah.
For those who haven't heard this before, I'm a 6'1" Tolkien dwarf. I have, scale up Gimli to 6'1", keep all the other dimensions and proportions the same as you scale him. So click at the corner and drag, not just click at the top and drag. And you'll end up with me, complete with the beard.
Wow.
I have goddamn 30-inch circumference thighs.
Okay, yeah, you are much larger than I.
Yeah. I'm a goddamn monster.
Yeah, I'm about 3 inches shorter and not quite built to that scale.
Yeah, you know ring sizes?
Yeah.
So a lot of guys, they'll have a ring size that's like an 11 and a half, a 12, something in that range. And a lot of them go even smaller than that. The largest rings that you can typically find sold at a normal jewelry place for men is about a size 13. My pinkies are 11.5s.
Damn.
My middle fingers are 16s.
I haven't checked lately, but I believe my ring finger is around a 10. So
Yeah.
I'm not a small person, but I am not built to your scale, sir.
Yes. I am absurdly sized.
Let's see. If I were to compare myself to Gimli, I would say instead of clicking the corner and dragging up, you click the corner and drag down. No, I'm just
You're
kidding.
shorter than Gimli?
No, I'm not. No, I'm just
That
kidding.
would be impressive.
Yeah.
I'm about Tyler. I'm
5'5",
about
so-
Kyler's height. So
Yeah, I'm 5'5". I'm looking up at all of you. I'm short.
6'1", and after losing a fair bit of weight, I'm still north of 250 pounds.
Yeah, I'm short. I'm looking up at all of you guys. I'm like, oh, dang it.
I've only
When-
been that heavy a couple times in my life, and you could tell I had a beer gut that you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, when I was getting into weight rooms seriously, back when I had a person that could spot at the weights that I was benching, I reached the point where I was doing. Are you guys familiar with endurance lifts at all?
Yeah.
So,
You pick it up and you hold it there as long as you can.
well, no, for endurance bench, for instance, you do low reps, high weight for weight bench. Endurance bench is the exact opposite. So you do a much lower weight than what you can normally lift,
Okay.
and you do it for a very high number of reps. When I was doing endurance bench, I was doing 50 reps. And when I was doing endurance bench, I was doing 300 pounds at 50 reps.
Damn.
That was before I reached a point where I couldn't find a spot that would be able to safely spot me when I was working out, because I started going north of 300 pounds during endurance lifts, and I have no clue what the hell my for weight bench would have been, because I
geez.
just didn't have someone that could spot me.
Yeah, I'll admit it now. I couldn't spot you, Sanguine.
Yeah. I needed two people to spot me the couple times that I was going above 300 by a fair bit. Yeah, I was at the point where when I was leg pressing, I was doing over 1,000 pounds at 50 reps a set. When I was doing my calf raises, I was doing 800 pounds at 50 reps a set. When I was bench, 300 pounds at 50 reps. And when I was younger, I haven't really been able to get a good diamond bar to do shrugs since I was in high school. But at my most obscene when I was in high school. I was doing somewhere between 700 and 800 pounds shrug.
Yeah, I'm not sure what shrug is.
It is literally, you get a bar, ideally a diamond bar. You put the weights on, you crouch down, pick it up, stand up, and then you shrug your shoulders up, kind of roll them back, lower down, shrug up, or roll forward, lower, shrug up, roll back, lower, shrug up, roll forward, lower, and you just, it's entirely with your traps. You're just shrugging the weight, moving it around, rolling your shoulders as you do so.
So are you having the weights on your shoulders or held in front of you?
Held in your hands. So
Okay.
a diamond bar is shaped like a diamond. You're standing in the middle of it, and the handholds are towards two of the corners.
I got
So you're holding at the corners, standing in the middle of the weight, but you're gripping it down by your side.
I gotta say the memes that are coming from this this trial are absolutely hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Both the ones that are like, you know, with Kyle, and especially from the attorneys.
and the nicknames that people are getting, like Grambo.
It's like
Base Grandma. She was great. I liked
Yeah.
her. She was
Based Grandma, aka Grambo. And then there's Camera Chad, who's the kind of spurgy photographer that just did not give a shit about any sort of pressure put on him by the lawyers. We didn't tell you to change your statement. Yes, you did. No, we didn't. Yes, you told me this exact phrase, saying, isn't there something that you can add to your statement? Isn't there something that you want to add? More information about this, more information about that? When, no, my statement was complete. I didn't need to add anything else. Why would I add anything to it? And you're pressuring me to add it. That's pressuring me to change my statement. Well, how was your experience coming to give your statement? I showed up to destroyed police precinct. You had me wait for an extended period of time. Then I finally got shown into the room, gave you my statement. You pressured me to change my statement, and you kept on trying to get me to change my statement. Is that really accurate? Yes. We didn't have you wait that long, maybe 5 minutes. No, it was much longer than 5 minutes. Just did not give a fuck about that. Did not give a fuck, would not say what they were trying to get him to say. And when they were trying to back him into a corner to force him to say shit, he would just call it out like, you're trying to do this right now. Please stop.
I kind of was expecting a few memes of the judge spanking the prosecutor for forgetting about rule number 1 in the lawyer's book. You know, because when he lost his shit on him, like, yeah, he was verbally spanking him. Or like, hoo, hoo, hoo.
Yeah, the prosecution trying to go after him, or trying to go after Kyle, because Kyle exercised his Miranda rights and didn't just talk to them whenever they wanted. He always wanted to make sure that he had his lawyer present because he knew that they were going to try to screw him as they were. And they tried to impeach his character by bringing that up, and the judge was just like, no, fuck you. You goddamn know that's a cornerstone of our system. Fuck you.
And there was one that I saw where it showed Kyle crying,
Mm-hmm.
and then it showed a mukbang setup like Nikocado avocado, and I'm like, that is fucking wonderful. Like,
And
just because of I mean, that's if you know the content, then you know where the humor is.
and did you see the part where he ended up crying? And did you see why he was crying? Because it was really goddamn sad when you.
I think it was a mixture of that and talking about the story. It kind of I don't actually know if he was looking at his mom in the crowd because I thought he was. Like they kept panning into this lady, so I thought it was his mom. And I could see that being a thing because if he's relayed this story before, he's probably broken down in front of her. You know, so if you're going through that story yet again, and you're trying to seek comfort from the crowd and you look at your mom, there's a good chance you're going to bubble up.
And just to make sure that everyone knows, in case you haven't seen that particular part, so it was when Kyle had opted to be put on the stand by his own lawyer, by the defense, in order to give his testimony. This is something that he could have opted not to do, and it would have been perfectly fine for him to do so. You don't need to go on the stand. You can choose to. There are times when it's beneficial. There are times when it hurts. In this instance, he probably could have gone either way without any issue. And it was him describing what he had done that day. So throughout most of it, he's just kind of, yep, here's what I was doing. I went to this place. I went this way. I spoke with this person. We said this. I helped out this person with this injury, that type of shit. And then it was right when it reached the point where in the video that was put out during the court case, the one that was supposedly the non-HD edited down version of the FBI footage that showed him running to put out a fire, Rosenbaum up ahead, which the prosecution tried to say it showed that Kyle was chasing Rosenbaum when the video actually showed the exact opposite, effectively. It showed Rosenbaum trying to ambush Kyle, because what it showed was Kyle running to put out a fire, Rosenbaum up ahead towards where the fire was. Then as Kyle is running forward, Rosenbaum ducks between some cars. There's a handful of people on the other side of the cars, people that Rosenbaum was mucking about with earlier in the day, including the one chap who was armed with a pistol. Not the one who ends up losing his bicep, but the one who was actually firing off his pistol early on in the original footage that everyone saw from the night
Oh, yeah.
just before Rosenbaum was shot. So it shows Kyle running towards the fire. They have audio from that moment where he runs around the car, not chasing Rosenbaum, because Rosenbaum ducked between the cars and he went around the cars. Rosenbaum's sneaking out from between the cars as he's running up to these people near the fire, and he starts yelling, "Friend, friend, friend, I'm just here to put out the fire." And you hear this in the audio. Then this is when he started crying on the stand, because it's getting to what was probably the scariest point, or one of the scariest points, and when everything went sideways for him that night, because Rosenbaum comes running around the car, starts to chase him. The other people start yelling that they're going to fucking kill him. They start yelling, "Get him!" They start threatening him as he's now trying to run away the moment that he realizes, oh shit, this isn't safe, get the fuck out. He starts trying to run. Rosenbaum chases him. The guy who had the pistol draws his pistol and starts firing it off into the sky. And this is the point where he hears gunshots. He's had something thrown at him. He wasn't sure what it was. He looked over his shoulder. Rosenbaum has closed the distance on him and starts attacking him and trying to grab his gun from him. He's heard gunshots, so he responds to the man who's trying to get his gun away from him with the most reasonable action at the time, which is, there's a threat, eliminate the threat.
Mm-hmm.
So he shoots the man who was attacking him, which one of the things that they tried to say was that, oh, he shot Rosenbaum in the back. The forensic evidence and which was given by the autopsy, or by the forensic specialist talking about the autopsy, completely said, no, that's bullshit. It was that he was being charged, and he shot Rosenbaum in the hand or the hip first. So one of them was a direct shot, one of them was debris. It probably came from hitting the ground, and then a fragment of the bullet bounced up and hit him in the hip, which that shit happens.
Oh, yes.
But the shot to the hand was a contact / close. So are you guys familiar with the way of observing forensic ballistic entry wounds, the categorization of them at all?
Probably, but if you asked me to list it all out right now, I probably couldn't.
So there's 4 main primary ranges that they talk about when it comes to looking at ballistic entry wounds. And those are contact, close, intermediate, and distant. So you can tell the difference between those 4 types of wounds, entry wounds. Once it hits distant, it becomes very difficult to tell the difference between a near distant and a far distant by just the entry wound alone. You have to use other mechanisms in order to figure it out.
Yeah.
So the distances for these are contact is literally touching the weapon to like half an inch from touching the weapon is counted as contact. So very short distance for contact.
Yeah.
Then close is that like half an inch to less than a foot. No, sorry. Yeah, half an inch to less than a foot, if I remember correctly, for the contact. Or for close to contact, for that close distance. Then you have intermediate, and intermediate is from that like foot to about 4 feet. So that's one thing that a lot of people got confused about when it was said in the explanation by the forensic specialist, because he said that a couple of the shots were at intermediate distance, which is within 4 feet, and a lot of people were going, what sort of fucking rifle has an intermediate distance of 4 feet? It's not an intermediate distance of the rifle, it's an intermediate distance of the entry wound. And that's less than 4 feet, but farther than close. And then distant is anything past that like 4 foot mark to the max range of the rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the breakdowns of distances, roughly. There's a couple that can be kind of inserted in there, but those are the 4 primary ones. And the differences between those are, with a close, you get the unburned powder, soot, all that good shit gets blown into the wound. So The bullet goes in. Right behind the bullet is all the unburned powder, so all that good shit. And you get that just in the wound track, effectively. Maybe a little bit of a mark outside the wound track, but it's mostly in the wound track. Then for...
Oh, man.
What's happening?
Look at the stream. Look at what Jen just shared.
I was timing it to see how long it takes you to facepalm.
Okay. Nice.
Get the...
God damn it.
I don't understand how that person at the bottom got to that
That's...
from there.
I know. It's just like, wait, what?
Way to totally derail the conversation, Jen.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I
Nice.
saw that and I was just like, I was so stunned. Like, I'm going to share that with you guys to time how long it takes you to facepalm.
All I have to ask is, why does someone think that Asian food is literally made of Asians, apparently?
Oh, no. Maybe
That's
because
an
they were
old
worried about
joke.
being laid
It's
on a boat.
people.
Yeah, it's an old joke, but it's meant to just be a joke. No one's supposed to take it literally. But yeah, so when you get to the close, you end up with... All right, I'll skip to the intermediate because the close is a combo, so it's easier once I explain intermediate. With intermediate, you get what's known as stippling, also sometimes called tattooing.
Yeah. I did watch CSI.
Yep. And that's when the unburned powder kind of sticks and marks the area around the entry wound.
Yeah, I have a law degree in Law and Order,
Nice.
so
And then for the close, like I said, it's a combination, so some of it's in, some of it's tattooed. And then distant, it has none of those markers that the previous three have had, which is why it ends up being, yeah, it's somewhere in between 5 feet and the max range of that rifle.
There are ways to narrow that down. That
Oh yeah, like I said, it's when you're talking about just the entry wound characteristics, it becomes it's somewhere in between 4 feet and the max range. But then you can look at the amount of penetration, the type of munition used, the angle that the round hit the person, the time that it takes for it to start tumbling, all that shit can be taken into account.
yeah, that
Then you can get
requires
more
a close examination of the wound itself.
Yeah, that requires an examination of the wound tract.
Well, yeah, that's the word I meant to use.
Yep. But yeah, when you're talking about entry wound designations, those are the 4, and those are how you tell the difference between the 4. So that's, if you were wondering, wait, how the hell is within 4 feet an intermediate range for a rifle? He wasn't saying that it was the intermediate range for a rifle. He was saying that it's the intermediate range for that type of wound.
Yeah, for that type of evidence at the wound entrance.
all right. Well, we are getting close to 2 hours, and yeah, we're gonna call it.
Fair enough.
And we're gonna start with parting thoughts. We can start with you, Kyler. Do you have something to shill, or?
Nah, not really. I just
My advice, send him all the dynamite on 7 Days to Die so that he can use it to fuck with Moonshot, because that's awesome.
Oh yeah, I do 7 Days to Die streams with Moonshock on Tuesdays and Thursdays on his Twitch channel. And I do some solo streams on Sunday afternoons on my YouTube channel. Right now I'm working through a game called Satisfactory.
Now, I was thinking it was just, machines doing machine things. And then I saw you with the dune buggy and the monsters. So that kind of upped it a little bit for me. So
Yeah, you're basically the employee of a soulless corporation sent to a virgin planet to completely snuggle all of its resources.
And as you do so, you pollute the planet, which has interesting effects on the wildlife.
Well, the wildlife is relatively hostile to begin with.
Oh yeah, but then it ramps up as your factory.
Well, yeah, as you explore more of the map and
Did you say?
set more stuff up.
So I'm sorry. I think I misheard you when you said the name of the game. Is this Factoria or is this a different one?
It's called Satisfactory.
Okay. It just sounded
Yeah.
a little bit like okay.
Factorio is a game as well. It's just
Yeah.
It's basically a different viewpoint on that same sort of game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
all right, and Jen.
My life has been super duper busy. I got a part-time job, which I'm kind of jumping through hoops for, which is fun. But I'm always here on Wednesdays with our crew, Hammer and Terry. I jump onto streams whenever I can because I like to. I have done a couple streams lately with Moonshock on Mondays because yes, dynamite is very fun. Give me lots of dynamite. That man is way too scared of me. I don't know why.
Well, 10 sticks in what was basically an outhouse. Come on, girl.
I know I needed 10 more, but it doesn't work like that. But I'll be poking my head around a little bit more on Twitch too, just because my understanding is that's where everyone seems to have flocked lately. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about moving there myself for my game streams. It's just I'm in the middle of something and I'm far enough along. If I hop platforms, people coming on the other platform will come to it and go, where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish 16.4 had the integration, but it doesn't.
I know, I missed that.
Yeah.
So you had stuff to do in the evening for the first couple days. You could just mass spam your tools and your clothes.
Well, make Camel get a better computer so you can play the latest build.
I also I really miss the water glitches. I really do. I miss playing around with the water.
I make bridges. Well, I try to make bridges through the water. There was one map we played. It was a random gen, and we were pretty much, it was me, Della, and Camel. We were all on an island, and there was only just like roadways that came off of the map, and it kind of just built out from there. And yeah, it was a lot of traveling just to get to the next area.
Yeah, I remember doing underground tunnels for that, just because there came a point where it's not that you don't want to deal with the zombies, it's just you just kind of want to get to and from where you're going. And that's one of the things I do miss about the old school game is, going back to Dynamite, you used to be able to lay it down like you used to be able to do it, well, how you still do it in Minecraft. So like every 5 spots or every 5 squares. And yeah, I could sit, once I was done laying them down, I could use my bow and arrow to set them off. Like I didn't have to like flick it and throw it. I could just stand 5 blocks away and ping. And then I had a road all the way from one town to another town without having to dig the whole thing out myself. And I could ride my bike through it. Yeah, I was a scary person with Dynamite.
And Sanguine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to do probably one final shill of my cooking Twitter. So there's the link to my cooking Twitter over there. I'm Ask or Aceberg's Kitchen. And I've changed up how I'm planning on doing things slightly. Rather than posting my week's worth of food late at night on Wednesdays. I'm now going to schedule it so it all posts around 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock CST, so dinner time for some people, bit before dinner for others. On Thursdays. So my meals from the past week have all hit earlier today, and you can look to see what I made, ask questions about food over there if you want, and just if I have any, or rather when I have additional cooking videos and shit like that, that will be a place to find out about them. Beyond that, I'll leave off with my standard of, if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
Well said. I actually am going to work on a meme that, because I know how Monkey states that he loves the drama, and I found a meme that I posted on Facebook from a while ago. And I was thinking about altering this for him. And then just put like a little monkey head here, and then just kind of just recreate it to where it's here. But I will go off with the reason I talk to myself is because I'm the only one who answers I accept.
Nice.
And it was a George Carlin quote. And on that, the zoo is closed. Thanks for coming, everyone, and have a good night.
Have a good night, all.
Have a good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
And we're